once you grow beyond that beginning stage of your business, things change. Your messaging becomes more complex and it has to be much more nuanced in the way that you speak to people and who you're speaking to. The way that you craft your offers, the way that you craft your offers and the services you provide, that has to be driven by a more specific and clear strategy. How you price your offers and your services needs to be more carefully planned. Even though that one size fits all framework works for launching a business, there is no one size fits all advice for growing or scaling a business.
Welcome to Leaving Academia, Becoming a Freelance Editor, the podcast. I'm your host, Paulina Cossette. In 2019, I was a political science professor who was fed up with the stress and hostility of academia, not to mention the low pay. I left my tenure-track job and went from barely surviving to thriving as a freelance academic editor. Today, I own Acadia Editing Services, an editing and coaching business that brings in 6 figures a year. In this podcast, I'll discuss the challenges of academia, what academic editing involves, and what life as a freelancer looks like. If you're willing to jump outside your comfort zone, it is possible to find joy, true flexibility, and a profitable and rewarding career as an academic editor. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to Leaving Academia, Becoming a Freelance Editor. I'm your host, Paulina Cossette. If you are new to running an academic business, some of what I say today won't apply to you quite yet, and that's okay. Today, I am speaking to the editor or the coach who is already running a business, who's already serving clients. And if that's not you quite yet, still listen because it will be you someday, maybe sooner than you think. And if you are in this phase where you've already launched your business, you're busy, you're serving clients, you feel like you've got a handle on things, you're starting to feel like you understand what it feels like to be a business owner. By most measures, it feels like things are working. But at the same time, often you can still feel stuck. You're happy with your success, but you still feel like something is off. Something just isn't clicking. Either you're too busy, you're overwhelmed, you're starting to burn out, or you're just busy enough, but you're feeling like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like you're worried about whatever's coming around the corner. Is this success going to last? How do I know that this isn't some fluke of me being successful, that this is actually going to last in the long term? And crucially, no matter how much you think it over, no matter how many business podcasts you listen to or books you read about how to scale, you can't quite put your finger on how to make things click. And a lot of this episode today, of course, is based in my own experience of growing my business, particularly after I hit the 6-figure mark in 2024. But the overall solution that I've come to and that I'm going to share with you today is actually simpler than any of the proposed solutions you've probably heard about. It is that you've outgrown the phase of your business where you can do this alone. What does this mean? First, there's not something wrong with you. On the contrary, you are exceptional if you've grown your business this much all by yourself. Very few people can do that. Most people, when they are just starting out and trying to figure out all the things that you need to know to start launching your business, they get overwhelmed. They get down on themselves. They get discouraged. They get busy with life. They get dragged back into their existing job, to their family commitments. It is very, very hard to launch the business, to take those first steps, to land those first clients, and to stick it out long enough that you start to feel like the ball is rolling and you've had some level of success. So I want you to take a pause here and celebrate the fact that you've reached this point. Seriously, very few people are able to do this on their own without support of a community or a coach or a program or whatever. So if you've done this alone, really, you really deserve to congratulate yourself. At the same time, there's a limit to what we can do alone. When you grow beyond that beginner business stage, you start having to answer bigger questions and you start having to solve bigger problems than you've ever had to try to work through before. And even though podcasts and books and free advice, all the lead magnets you've probably downloaded, even though all that stuff helped you get this far, running a business beyond this point becomes so much more nuanced. Let me try to explain this a little differently. Inside my program, Becoming an Academic Editor or Coach, it's a 12-week cohort-based group program where I teach a clear step-by-step roadmap for how to design and launch a new editing or coaching business. Every year, we run 3 to 4 cohorts, and between 60 and 80 people enroll each year. And what I teach in that program works for such a wide range of people, from copy editors to developmental editors to book coaches and dissertation coaches and public speaking coaches and all kinds of different things related somehow to academia or education. It works for that wide swath of people because the formula for growing a business in that very early beginning stage works consistently no matter what type of business you're starting. And in fact, I know people who are copywriters, who are life coaches and health coaches and family coaches and all kinds of different parts of this market. They're doing some kind of service-based business, providing, web design or graphic design or whatever it is, some kind of service-based or coaching business. All of the successful businesses pretty much follow the same formula and the same roadmap. And that is because in that very early stage, it is much easier to explain how to lay out the steps that you should follow to land clients, regardless of what particular niche or genre or whatever that you're in. Yes, in my program, we work through different people's preferences for marketing themselves, whether they want to write a blog or dance on Instagram or TikTok, or nobody's done TikTok yet, or use LinkedIn or send cold emails or whatever it is that they want to do. We work through things like that. But for the most part, the essential roadmap and the framework that I teach is the same. It works no matter what niche you want to focus on. But once you grow beyond that beginning stage of your business, things change. Your messaging becomes more complex, and it has to be much more nuanced in the way that you speak to people and who you're speaking to. The way that you craft your offers, and the services you provide, that has to be driven by a more specific and clear strategy. How you price your offers and your services needs to be more carefully planned. Even though that one-size-fits-all framework works for launching a business, there is no one-size-fits-all advice for growing or scaling a business because there are just so many more factors that proliferate as the business grows. And that's just what happens. That's just what happens in this stage of business. The skills that got you here to this point, the working hard, the hustling, the figuring everything out on your own, the DIYing, the forcing stuff to work, the determination, the being the person who does it all. Those are the exact skills that stop working once you reach a certain point. I know that sounds depressing. If you are like me, you are someone who says, I am determined. This is a goal that I want to reach, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. That's still important. You still need those skills and those traits. But podcasts and lead magnets and free advice isn't enough anymore. And that's a good thing, right? That's ultimately a good thing. If you are at this point and you're ready to grow further, that's something to celebrate. So don't feel too down on yourself. But the point of today's episode is to show you that there is a point in your business where you do need to grow and you do need to change some things up and you do need support. And so today I'm going to share 4 signs that you have hit that ceiling in your business, that ceiling where you can no longer do everything on your own. And even if just 2 of these things sound familiar to you, that is not a coincidence. That is data. And that data, those data are telling you that you got to make a shift, that you're in a developmental leap. If you are a parent of young children out there, you will recognize that term, developmental leap. Your business is growing, it's changing, and it needs you to change with it so that you can further support it as it grows and scales. So let's start with sign number 1. Okay, these are 4 signs that your business has reached a turning point where things are starting to change and you need to change with it in order to continue to grow. So, sign number 1 is doing everything yourself. You are the editor or the coach. You are the service provider in your business. You are the one who's working with the clients. But you are also the marketer and the bookkeeper and the tech support and the person who answers every email and the one who creates all your social media content and the one who redesigns your website at 11 o'clock at night because nobody else is there to do it. It's all on you. Most business owners at this stage know that this pattern of doing all the things yourself, you know that that's about you. You know that you are the kind of person who does all the things, who makes things happen, and that's wonderful. But knowing that is not helpful. What we need to reflect on here is, why are you still doing all the things even after you know it's happening? The honest answer for most of us, it's not that we don't know we should delegate. We deep down, we know we need to delegate. It's that delegating feels slower or harder than just doing it ourselves. Believe me, I have been there. I've said before, I have a virtual assistant who is amazing. She works 10 hours a week for me. She creates a lot of my content on social media. She helps me brainstorm ideas. She does a lot of voice of customer research for me. She does a ton of stuff that I cannot do it myself. But it was very hard for me to hand over that to her. She's someone that came recommended to me. She's someone who I followed on Instagram for a long time. I was very impressed with her work. She has worked as an editor and now as a VA. And it still took a long time for me to convince myself that I needed to hire her because I didn't want to let go. I was worried that it was going to take too long to teach her my voice and my style and my brand style and my colors and all of those things that she needed to learn to do this work. I thought it would just be faster and easier for me to just keep doing it myself. I also was hesitant to give up control, right? And I say this as delicately as possible again, because I am going through this. But if you are like me, if you are the kind of person who's somebody who pushes, who wants to get everything done, who's a little bit of a perfectionist, maybe, who has a vision and wants it to be executed exactly as you want it done, it is very hard to give up control to somebody else. A lot of us built our businesses specifically to get away from somebody else's decisions or somebody else's direction. We like freedom. We went into academia because we like freedom, because we like to make our own choices. And we, frankly, are successful at whatever we do because we are really freaking good at it. Especially if you're an editor, you probably have an eagle eye. You're probably a perfectionist, and you can be even more hesitant then to give up control of your business tasks like marketing or bookkeeping to somebody else who you suspect is not quite as detail oriented as you are. Not because there's anything wrong with them, just because you are the cream of the crop and you are like as good as it gets. And therefore, no one else is either. And you know exactly what you want. And again, I am speaking as myself here. It is very hard for me to give up control to somebody else because they're going to make typos in the content, or they're just not going to get it, or they're not going to do as well as I could. And so handing a piece of your business over to somebody else feels like, or it is giving up that control, even when that person is on your side and they are skilled at what they do. And here's the thing I want to emphasize on this is that it's okay if they're not as good as you are. It's okay if it takes a little bit of time for you to train them. It's okay if there's typos in some of the content. It's okay because the work is still getting done. Maybe it's not perfect, but it's work that is getting done that you are not having to do. And so on those 2 points, the control piece and just the idea of delegating, right? I want to encourage you to challenge yourself and to try to be okay with it, to test it out. There's also, of course, a money piece here related to why you do everything by yourself. Outsourcing tasks can feel like an expense that you can't justify yet, even if the math says otherwise, even if you are making a good income. You think, I'll get help once I can afford it. But that goes on and on and on because you never get to the point where you feel secure enough. And this gets to this idea of feelings and beliefs versus data. You feel like you can't afford it instead of looking at the numbers and doing the math and trusting that you can and that this is an investment that will pay off. And by that, I mean investing in somebody to help you. Finally, this pattern is self-reinforcing. Doing everything yourself is exactly what keeps you too busy to fix the fact that you're doing everything yourself. So let me repeat some of those things again, just because I think I'm throwing a lot of information at you. The first sign that your business is growing and you need to make a change is that you are doing everything yourself. And then we dug into this question of why. If you know this to be true, you recognize it, you see it, why are you still doing it? Number one is it's hard to delegate. Okay. And this is the subpoint under sign number one. It's hard to delegate. It's hard to make the decision to let go of some of these things. Subpoint number two is that it feels like you're giving up control, and that brushes up against your perfectionist tendencies. Subpoint number three is that it costs money and you're worried that you don't have that money and you keep telling yourself you can't afford it when really you should be looking at the math and the data to decide is now the right time or not. And then subpoint four is that the pattern reinforces itself. You keep doing everything yourself, and so you're too busy to do the math on the revenue to see if you can afford hiring a VA. You're too busy to research what VA might you hire. You're too busy to look into hiring a business coach who can strategize with you and support you. You're too busy to make any of these decisions. And so you just keep doing the things by yourself, and it just goes round and round and round. If this is you, The sign isn't that you're behind. It isn't that you're doing something wrong. I guarantee you every business owner who reaches this point goes through this process. The sign is that you are at the exact point where this pattern stops being sustainable and starts being the thing that creates the ceiling in your business. By doing all the things, you are preventing yourself from growing, from expanding, from making more money, from having more success, from having more free time. You are creating that ceiling. You are solidifying that ceiling and preventing yourself from growing. Sign number two that your business is growing and you need to change. You are fully booked, but you have no time to market. This is something that I know a lot of people in my programs, my communities, especially the Academic Entrepreneurs Studio, where I work with, it's a mastermind group of established academic business owners. This is what a lot of people are facing is they're busy, and that's fantastic. Maybe they're fully booked. The client work is taking up all their time. This is a good thing. Business is good. Everything looks great. But they haven't posted anything. You haven't reached out to recent contacts, people who reached out to you a few months ago and never hired you, right? You haven't been keeping up with your blog or your email to your list or whatever, right? You've been so busy with client work that you haven't been able to keep up with the marketing. Here's the paradox. Being busy with client work is the very thing that is eating the time you need to market yourself. The fuller your schedule is, the less time you have to expand your visibility. And that is backwards from how it feels, again, because having a full client roster feels like your goal is achieved, like you've achieved success. But something still doesn't feel right, right? You everything on paper looks successful right up until it doesn't. And this is not a problem for you until suddenly it is. And I've watched a lot of people in my programs go through this where they have a lot of early success because they follow the roadmap, they do the marketing, they land the clients, they start doing the client work, and then suddenly the work dries up. And we talk about what happened. What have you been doing for the last couple months for your marketing? Oh, nothing. No, I haven't been posting on LinkedIn. No, I haven't been sending emails. No, I haven't been doing outreach because I was busy with client work and everything was going well. Well, my friend, it was going well because you were doing the marketing, right? And so this is something that a lot of people face. It is a struggle in its own way. It is not because there's anything wrong with you, right? You get busy with clients because you are doing all of the things right. You're doing it all right. But the problem arises because you stop doing those exact things that got you to where you are. And so we have to go back and reevaluate our systems. Okay. When you look at your business, it can't be just about doing client work. There has to be some kind of system in place, some kind of pattern, some kind of work habit, some kind of structure that you implement consistently, week after week, month after month, quarter after quarter, that exists to fill the pipeline. Because if that machine, if that system isn't running in the background all the time, you run it for a little while, your pipeline fills, while you're working through those clients who have come through the pipeline, the system shuts down, the machine stops working, it stops producing your marketing widgets, and you work through all this client work and then poof, it's gone. And it can often catch you by surprise. And so that machinery that is producing your marketing widgets, if you will, that has to keep running while you are serving your clients. So, how do we do this? How do we build this system? It requires infrastructure in your business. It requires permanent, reliable, repetitive tasks that you do or that you hire a virtual assistant or somebody to do for you. But it requires you to build that infrastructure and that system and to make sure that it, first of all, is made of components that are effective, right? Marketing tasks that actually work, whether that's posting on LinkedIn or blogging or whatever. The components have to work, but the components also have to work together and be able to function in the background in a very efficient way. You cannot have a marketing system built on a frantic burst of activity. You cannot try to squeeze in your marketing in between client projects. Because as we all know, life starts lifing. Things happen. You get sick. Your kids get sick. You have to take a last minute trip. You get another influx of client projects from somewhere, right? Maybe you're finishing a book edit and you think, oh, perfect. I have nothing on the schedule this week before I start my next book next week. I'm going to use this week for all my marketing. And then all of a sudden you get somebody who needs a copy edit of their article or something, right? And you don't want to turn that down because you have to market. And so the marketing falls by the wayside again. So you need a system that is built into your schedule, into your business, that works on repeat and that is always there. Now, telling you how to build that system would be an entire podcast episode in itself, if not a course. And in fact, it's exactly, like I said, it's exactly what we work on inside the Academic Entrepreneurs Studio, is building those systems that you need for your specific business. Because again, once you're at this point, things become more nuanced. They require more specific strategy. There is no just roadmap or blueprint that applies to everybody. We have to look at your specific business and diagnose your traffic, your audience. Who are they? Where are they coming from? How do we get them through your pipeline? How do we take them on this customer journey? How do we nurture them to move them towards the buying decision? And all of that is a very personal matter. It's specific. It has to be specific to your business and your client and revenue goals. So that is not something I can cover in a podcast, let alone, just a mini course or something like that. That is the value of working in a mastermind group or in one-on-one coaching. But I will leave this point here to say, if you are fully booked and you haven't marketed yourself in months, that's something that we need to work on. That's something that you need to be aware of, because unless you are exceptionally lucky, that pipeline is going to dry up and those clients are going to you're going to finish up the projects with the clients you have, and you're going to be looking around and wondering where the next one's coming from and why is my calendar so empty. So take that sign number 2, that you are too busy to market yourself, as a sign that your business has grown, but to keep it growing further, something needs to change. Sign number 3, you are trading time for money. When you are struggling with this challenge, every hour that you don't work is an hour you don't get paid. This leaves you tied to your computer for 8+ hours a day and burning yourself out. And my friend, that is not why we started a business. We do not want to continue those old patterns that we did in academia. This trend of trading time for money is the ceiling built directly into the pricing model that most of us started with. Most of us started out charging per word rates for editing, per hour rates for coaching. We Even if we bill by the project for editing, we have to be tied to the computer to get the work done. And so we are not making progress on our work. We are not serving our clients unless we are tied to our computer. And so our revenue, our money comes from that work that we has to be done at the computer, and we're not making money unless we're sitting at our desk. There's nothing wrong with that in the beginning. That is how you get started. But as I'm sure is clear to you, this is what caps your income. The number of hours you work is the natural cap on your income, and it is very difficult to grow beyond, say, $100,000 a year doing something like editing, right? You can. It's certainly possible by raising your rates, but one can only work at a computer for so many hours in the day. And so if you can't physically do more editing projects, if you can't physically take on more clients who pay you by the hour to coach them, then your income is naturally capped. So what do we do? Well, we can't just work more, right? We've already established that you're capped. You're working as much as you can to the point that maybe you're working too much. By trying to just work more, that's you trying to push the ceiling higher and higher, even though you're already exhausted. And so the way out of this is to build a business that earns beyond your hours. It's a business that earns because of the value that you provide, not the number of hours that you spend at your desk. This can look a lot of different ways depending on who you want to serve and what kind of services you want to provide. It could be an online course. It could be a group program. It could be a long-term coaching package. It could be an editing retainer. It could be a lot of different forms. But the key to all of these things is that they are priced on the outcome the client gets from working with you and the value that you deliver rather than the hours that you spend on the clock. Okay. I have talked about this in other episodes. I talk about it extensively in my free 3-day training, which I have another one that's going to be coming up in, well, the first is going to be on September 2nd. I'm going to be speaking directly to editors, people who are already working as editors and want to land private clients. I'll put a link in the show notes to that. But then you can expect another webinar, my 3-day training for academics who want to start a business. That'll be in probably early November. So again, I want to emphasize that we can't charge by the hour or the editing project because that is the ceiling. That is what limits us and our income. We have to charge based on the value of the outcome that you are delivering to the client. This does not mean that you have to up and abandon the editing or coaching work that you've been doing. It means that you have to expand your offers and you have to start including offers and pricing, the way that you price them. It has to be done to bring in more revenue and to give you more flexibility in your schedule. And these offers and this pricing have to reflect, now that you've been in business for a little while, they have to reflect the growing expertise and knowledge and skills that you've been developing this whole time in your business. So when you started your business, you were editing or coaching at lower rates, maybe one-off coaching sessions, smaller projects, and that was fine. But again, your business is growing, your business is changing, and you need to change with it. And so once we get to this point, we need to adjust our offers in such a way that they allow us to charge based on the value of the outcome that the client is getting. And all of this isn't some like crazy secret strategy that I'm hiding that, why doesn't she just tell us how to price things? I can't, right? I can't tell you this in a single podcast episode because again, once your business grows to this level, it becomes nuanced. We have to look at things like, what is the life that you want to live? What hours in the day do you want to work? How many clients do you want to serve? What is your revenue goal and how many clients do you need to meet it? What kind of services are you providing? Does it make sense to work with people for a month at a time, or 3 months, or 6 months, or a year, right? All of these details about how we craft these packages and how we price them comes down to the specifics of your business, who you serve, what is their budget, what is the value that you're giving them, and all of these details. And it is only by working with a coach who knows this space that you are going to be able to strategize and to make these decisions in a way that supports you, that supports your life, your family, your flexible schedule that you want, your revenue goals, and the ability to have a successful business in the long term, a sustainable business in the long term. The last sign that your business is growing and that you need to grow with it and do things a little bit differently. Sign number 4 is decision fatigue and shiny object syndrome. Raise your hand if you experience this. Yes, at least I did until I hired my business coach. This was shiny object syndrome, especially, but also decision fatigue. This was big for me probably about a year and a half ago before I started working with my coach. And, I had hit 6 figures. I was ready to grow my BAE program even more. It was just starting out. We were about 6 months in. I knew it was successful. People were interested, people were joining. It was a proven offer, and I wanted to grow it. I wanted to share this information and this knowledge with more people. And because I'm a huge podcast listener, every new podcast episode that I listened to was another idea, oh, this person says if you do this, you can attract more clients on LinkedIn. Or this person says you have to have the right CRM, the right customer relationship management system. And that's what the key is, right? That's the secret. Or you have to write emails in this way. That's the secret. Or you have to film reels on Instagram, and that's the secret. And I would hear this and I would bounce from idea to idea to idea and think, that's what I have to do. I have to have a tiny offer. It has to be $7 and I have to sell it on Instagram through ads or whatever, right? Like everybody out there is trying to hawk you their unique solution, their answer. And this is the key that's going to fix everything in your business, even though they have no idea what your business looks like. You're just reading an ad on Facebook or something. And so I got sucked into that. I believe these people sound intelligent and they're not wrong. I'm sure that they have a lot of knowledge and interesting things to say. But again, you can't help somebody unless you know their business specifically. And so I would chase these ideas and think, oh, this is what I'm going to do. And then I jump to the next one. Oh, this is what I'm going to do. And the problem with that is when you are the only person in your business, you have to make all the decisions. You have to analyze all of the options. I remember coming to dinner every night. I'd cook dinner. My husband would come home. We'd sit down at the table and I'd talk to him about, oh, I heard this podcast episode today and they said I should do this. And the poor man is so kind. He would listen and he would try to give support, but it's not enough, right? He doesn't own a business. He's a researcher and he loves me and he supports me endlessly. And I'm so grateful for that. But he was my biggest supporter when it came to hiring my business coach because he knew that I needed somebody to bounce these ideas off of, to talk to me. Whenever you have a question about what to charge for a new service, or even what service to offer, or what to call it, or whether or not you should raise your rates, or problems that come up with clients who are difficult, and you're wondering what to do, when you're doing this alone, you get that decision fatigue. You get exhausted. You're spinning your wheels. You don't know what to do. You have nobody to talk to, and you're seeking a solution, right? You're always seeking relief. And that's hard, right? It's really, really hard. And so what ends up happening is either the decision drags out for weeks because you have this problem and you don't know how to solve it and you're jumping between options, or you make the decision too fast and you invest in a course or you buy somebody's, you join a program too quickly, or you buy some new software or whatever, right? Because you're so exhausted from trying to figure this out that you just pick something to try it and to make all of that indecision stop. And neither of those options is a good way to run a business. But when you're the only person in your business, you don't know what else to do. And the beauty of working with a coach is that you have that sounding board. You have someone who knows your business inside and out, who is your reality check on every idea that you have. Somebody that you can go to and say, hey, I was thinking about doing this. I was thinking about starting a monthly membership. And they can say, oh, that's interesting. Why is it that you think you want to do that? That's what my coach says to me. What's motivating this decision? And she doesn't tell me what to do. She doesn't tell me what the answer is, but she lets me think through it myself. And then she gives me an honest assessment of what she knows based on her experience. That trying to sell a $9 a month membership is a terrible idea because you're going to put way too much energy into it and never make any money. Right? That's an example. I'm not thinking of starting a $9 membership, but it's one of those solutions that floats around out there on all the podcasts that people think is, oh, I just need a low ticket offer and everything will be well. So when you have a coach, you can talk to somebody and say, hey, I was thinking about this, and they can explore that with you. And you don't have to spin your wheels alone. And I think what is looking back on my battle with shiny object syndrome, which I am proud to say it ended as soon as I hired my coach. It's not about the object, right? It's not about the software or the course or the thing you're thinking about buying or the solution you're thinking about implementing. It's about the hope for relief that that object represents. Because somebody out there is promising you if you buy their thing, it is going to give you the relief that you're seeking. I also think that when we come up with a new idea for a new program or a new offer or something, it feels like forward motion. It feels like we're making progress. It's exciting. It's energizing. We are entrepreneurs. We are ideas people. We're visionaries. It is exciting to have a new idea and think, oh, what are the possibilities that this is going to offer me? And new ideas are a very welcome break from the harder and slower and much less exciting work of iterating on the things that you're already doing, the programs that you're already running. We get to this point where we sell a program, it's working, and we think, okay, what's next? What's the next thing that I'm going to build? But the hard truth here that I'm going to share with you, and it's the truth that I had to learn from working with my business coach, is that you already have services and offers. They are working. If you have clients, it means your offers are working, and you need to refine those offers and services. Instead of going out and finding the next new thing and building the next offer or program, you need to refine what you're already doing. You're already doing some marketing, and you need to do the work that will make the messaging even more precise to make that marketing even more effective. You are constantly scrambling to tick items off your to-do list, and you need to sit down and build that system that will finally help you get organized and make some real progress in your business because you're taking those things off your plate and you're working more efficiently. And all of those things, those examples I just described, those are about iterating and refining and perfecting and working on the same problems over and over and over again. And I know that is not fun. It's not fun. It sucks. And digging in and doing the hard work of thinking through what already exists and figuring out how to change things at the margins to make it better, it's boring. It's hard. It is work. But thinking about a new software tool or a new webinar style that you could design or, whatever else that's new and exciting and shiny, that is way more fun to think about. That is way more fun to come up with a new program and a new offer than it is to get better at the thing you're already doing. And without someone in your corner to say, wait a minute, does this actually get you to where you want to go? Or are you just tired of doing the hard stuff? Somebody who's going to be not brutal, but honest and fair. If the choice is between doing the exciting thing and doing the hard work to refine, when you're alone, the shiny thing is going to win every time, but it's not the smart thing. It's not the thing that is going to get you to where you want to go. And having a coach in your corner to ask you, let's be honest, is this really going to help you achieve your goals? That that is priceless. And so when you are always chasing the shiny thing and the fun thing, your business ends up getting scattered and disjointed. You have half finished SOPs laying around everywhere. You have three different offers that are each 60% built. You have a website that's been in progress for months. And your energy and your focus are spread across ideas instead of being concentrated in the one or two or maybe three offers that are already working and that can do even better if you devote the time and attention to them. So the fix here, it is not more willpower. It is not more discipline. It is structural. It is having someone who knows your business well enough to catch that shiny object before you're 3 weeks into it. Somebody that you can turn to when you need to make decisions like this, who you can talk to, and in a 20 or 30-minute conversation, you can come up with a plan. You can walk away from that conversation with them with clarity, with concrete next steps, and you can be sure, or at least be highly confident, that those steps are going to get you to where you actually want to be, instead of taking another 3-week detour to design this offer that you're never actually going to launch. And again, I'm saying this from my own experience. I have a couple of half finished things that I thought I would sell as a low ticket offer. Who knows? They're there. They're not even on the back burner. They're off the stove completely for now. Maybe I'll bring them in sometime later. I don't know. But that was time that was wasted because I was not refining what I already had. I was looking for the next best thing, the next solution to provide that relief, the next magic secret that the internet was selling me. Thankfully, I didn't buy anything to do it. I just took some advice and some free advice from podcasts and stuff to make some of these lower ticket offers. But they're half done and they never went anywhere. And thankfully, nowadays, I have the support of my coach to help me focus on what really matters. So if you are exhausted by your own indecision, or you can feel yourself getting pulled toward that next shiny new thing every week or every month or whatever, that is not a focus problem. It is the cost of doing this without a sounding board. So let's pull all of these things together. We have 4 signs that your business has grown to the point that you need to make a change. Number 1 was doing everything yourself and being too busy to change the fact that you're doing everything yourself. Number 2 is being fully booked, but losing visibility and not spending time on your marketing because client work is eating up all the time you have that you should be spending on marketing and filling the pipeline. Number 3 is that you're trading time for money. And so your income is capped at the number of hours you can physically sit at your desk. And number four is decision fatigue and shiny object syndrome, which both come from trying to run a business without having someone in your corner to think things through with. If any of those sound like your experience right now, I want to be honest with you about what fixes them. It is not more information. You already have plenty of information. You already know what it takes to run a successful business. You've read the books, you've listened to the podcast, you've downloaded the freebies. You have the information. You cannot spend more hours Googling these questions or asking AI until you feel like your eyes are going to pop out of your head. That is not the answer. You are not going to find the answers on the internet. You have the information and the knowledge. What you need is someone else, a partner, a supporter, a cheerleader, a knowledgeable, though, cheerleader, somebody who knows your business inside and out, somebody who's walked this path, who has grown their own business. My coach is a multi six figure, approaching seven figure business coach, not specific to academia, but to coaching businesses more broadly. But she has been through this path. She's been doing this for years longer than I have. She's brilliant. She's caring. She's kind. She's honest. And she is somebody who devotes so much time and always, I mean, sometimes she remembers stuff about my business, things I did in the past, dates that I or months that I started a certain offer or something. She remembers it better than I do because she is so devoted to my business. I cannot explain how valuable it is to have a partner who cares that much about you and your business. And honestly, it's priceless. It is so helpful to me to have that kind of partner. And so again, information is not going to help you. You need to have somebody else who walks the walk and who knows what they're talking about, who's been there, who can look at you, at someone who is just 2 or 3 years behind them, and can look at your experiences and look at your business and reflect with you and answer your questions and bounce ideas with you and help you decide what is best for your business, not by telling you what to do, but helping you work through these problems together, to be a sounding board, to be a second brain. A saying that I love that I've heard other business people say is that analyzing your own business is like trying to read the label from inside the bottle. That's really, really hard to do, right? Like, even for myself, I'm an academic business coach. Why do I need a business coach? Because when I can look at other people's businesses and give you suggestions all day long. And I look at your business, I know exactly what you need to do to land more clients or to market your group program. But looking at my own business is like reading the label from inside the bottle. I need help. I need somebody else who can look at things from an outsider's perspective and talk things through with me. And again, I went through everything that I've described in this episode, every single sign. And the thing that helped me move past these challenges and to grow beyond this point was not figuring it out on my own. It was getting the right support. And as soon as I hired my coach, I went from being constantly confused, from having decision fatigue, from having shiny object syndrome and doing all the things myself and not knowing how to move forward. I mean, it was like overnight. As soon as I hired her and had my first session with her, I immediately felt calmer. I felt more confident. I felt more secure. And in the last year and a half, we have done real work. We have dug in and done that hard work of refining and perfecting and not adding new offers or new programs unless they absolutely made sense. And it has been smart. It has been strategic. It has been effective. It has paid off in terms of increasing my revenue. My revenue has grown year over year. And almost maybe more importantly is I have just enjoyed running my business so much more. It is so much less stressful. I have enjoyed digging into my business and doing this work because I know it's the right thing to do, because I know it works. And so if you listen to this episode and you felt like I was describing your business, if you are past the launch phase, if you are past proving the concept, if you are stuck on how to grow beyond what you can carry alone, I work with editors and coaches one-on-one at exactly this stage. We look at your business model, we look at your offers, your pricing, your marketing. We help you build a system that makes sure that that marketing is always working in the background. We build a strategy so that your business fits your life, so that it helps you achieve your goals, that it fits around your family and your kids and your parents and your friends and your hobbies, right? Because we do not exist to work. We have a business to support us in building the life that we have always wanted. There's a link in the show notes if you want to talk about whether or not one-on-one coaching with me would be a good fit for you. I thank you for being here, and I'll see you next week.
If you're unhappy in academia and you think you might be a good editor or writing coach, check out my course, Becoming an Academic Editor. This digital course is paired with a 12-week group coaching program to support you through your decision to leave academia or not, and to start building a profitable and rewarding academic editing business. Learn more by going to acadiaediting.com/become an editor. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time.